Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games was an expected release every time the games came around for nearly a decade. The first one in 2008 was a childhood classic for me, and I will always remember how this added some exciting variety to the sports-focused, motion-control-driven classics in the early Wii days. Fast forward nearly a decade, and the series petered out with a forgettable and shallow release late in the Wii U's life. This is a deep dive of Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games, Nintendo's most forgotten game. The end of the Wii U era was a pretty depressing time to be a Nintendo fan. All hope of the console ever turning things around was long lost by 2016, and we were mostly just anticipating the next system at this point. Surely Nintendo would turn things around, as they typically have after a low point in sales always. However, we knew at this point that the Wii U was dead in the water and was no longer going to be the answer. Nintendo Directs in early 2016 were pretty lackluster. Just look at these timestamps to see what games were featured alongside Mario and Sonic's 2016 release in this March Direct. You can hear how little they even had to say about this game.
Next, a Wii U game you're all expecting.
Yep, we sure are expecting it. Just make Mario run around that track, check off that box, and call it a game.
That comes with some unexpected twists.
That is such a huge stretch. We would absolutely expect new events, and yes, it's cool that they modeled the arenas after the real ones in Rio, but is that really so groundbreaking that it's going to make people go buy a Wii U or even just this game in June of 2016? That is literally all they had to say about this game in this March Direct. The vast majority of the runtime is just the opening cutscene, which is immensely similar to the ones from the other games. That's fine and all the openings are cool, but what on earth are you talking about when you say unexpected twists? I'm pretty sure this is the only time the game was ever talked about in a Nintendo of America Direct. I couldn't find anything else. However, I did also find an Australian Direct from April. Here we got a reminder that the 3DS version of the game was coming out.
A reminder that Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games launches on Nintendo 3DS on April 8th.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for the reminder, honestly. I genuinely think everybody forgot about this game, and if you hadn't reminded me there, it would have sold even less copies. Then it gives essentially the exact same presentation that the Americans got a month earlier about the Wii U game. It's mostly just intro footage, and then they briefly show some of the new events in the arenas. And that is literally all the pre-release hype that I could find for this game's release. With that, this late-release Wii U game came out to almost no fanfare, received really mediocre scores, and pretty much killed off the franchise of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. For me, the last Wii U game that I cared about was Xenoblade Chronicles X. That game came out in December of 2015, and it was actually in the mail the same day that I got accepted to college. Eventually, I got more into the PC and indie gaming scene since I was so limited in what I could bring to college, but of course I had a laptop. Ultimately, this massive change in lifestyle from a high schooler to a college student killed the waning final bits of interest that I had in the Wii U. Before I even knew it, the Switch came out, and the Wii U quickly faded into memory. I give you all this context to demonstrate how Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games was nowhere near my radar when it released, and I only ever figured out that it existed a couple years ago when looking back at some of the more obscure titles for the system. I wanted to see what I ended up missing out on the console. Yeah, well, I guess this technically was one of the games that I missed in my childhood when the Wii U was out. So few people cared about this game that there isn't even a single thing written on the strategy wiki for this game. It's a total ghost town. Upon starting it up, it doesn't seem so bad, and it never really is truly awful by any means. However, this game just drops the ball in so many ways compared to the previous titles. It does very little to innovate, and nobody was ever really given any good reason to go and buy it. They just made it because they felt like they had to because the Olympics were happening again, and that's it. And I'll just add a quick little disclaimer here that as I air out my grievances with this game, be aware that if you like this game, that's totally fine, nothing against you. Don't take it personally that I don't really like this game. If you like it, more power to you, and that's awesome. This is just my experiences and my opinions, so don't take it too seriously. Thanks. First of all, major gripe. Let's get it out of the way. Why the hell is the Pro Controller not supported for this game? The gamepad does literally nothing unique here. It just displays what is on the TV the entire time. I literally never look at the screen. I just forget that it's there and end up feeling like I'm playing the game with a tablet. For such a late Wii U game, it is insane that I cannot use the Pro Controller here. I know some of the earlier titles for the console had the support patched in later, but that's stuff from 2012. This was a mid-2016 release. For the one title in the series that essentially has zero motion controls, it is absolutely baffling to not let me use the Pro Controller. We do have this cute little plaza area where we get to choose which game modes we want to play. However, another quick little gripe here, I hate that I cannot jump around on the beach. I just want to run and jump, alright? I need something to do. Give me the ZR button to jump like how Nintendo Land did. I want to just be able to screw around a little bit. But no. Yeah, by 2016, we were just done having fun in plazas, it feels like. Why am I learning about the Irish education system in a Mario game? Admittedly, as a bit of a geography nerd myself, this is actually pretty cool. I think that they put all these real-world facts in here. It's a fresh reminder that these are based on real Olympic Games that real people compete in. Some may prefer to leave any of the real-world ties out of it, but I do welcome the idea. There's facts about a ton of different countries and cities in here. The main way that you progress in this game is by playing tournaments. Sure, you can just chill and play single events all day, but you really do need to delve into these tournaments eventually. I like the idea. After all, it reminds me a lot of Circuit Mode from the 2008 game, which is something I was heavily disappointed never truly made a return in any of the sequels. However, why does this only get to be the Miis? Playing with Miis makes this feel more like Wii Sports than Mario and Sonic at the Olympics. Where's Mario? Where's Sonic? Given the names of the players that I'm up against, I'm assuming that this was the online mode back in the day, and now playing it offline just matches me up with fake Miis that are supposed to feel like other players from around the world. I understand wanting to let people pick their Miis to go up against other players, but still, can you give me the option to pick Yoshi as well or something? At least you get to pick your country and rep a flag as you go through the tournaments. I had to go with Uruguay, mainly because its capital is Montevideo. As much as I hate to admit it, these tournaments are quite fun. Ultimately, they do give me a little bit of a nostalgic reminder of what 2008 was like with the Circuit Mode. However, do you know what was fun about Circuit Mode? It was the charm of the original Wii and the heavy emphasis on motion controls in that game. Something like archery or skeet is significantly harder in 2008 versus now. This archery game is really simple compared to the same thing with motion controls. It's just like a third-person shooter now without the added challenge of actually having to hold a Wii Remote and nunchuck steady while aiming your shot. Instead, now you just move the stick and push A, and it's pretty mundane. Playing tournaments is how you unlock a lot of different things in the game, like characters and outfits. Yay! There's a lot of little collectibles and stuff in this game, which, sure, I guess it's motivation enough to keep you playing for a little bit. Also, the clothes that you win for your Mii actually have an effect on their stats and are not just purely cosmetic. I was surprised to see that initially, but I find it adds more dynamics to the game, and I really do welcome that. This is also handled well because there aren't stupid microtransactions where you have to pay $20 for the Michael Phelps swimsuit just to be the fastest at swimming. A lot of the events are hit or miss for me. For example, I find the ping pong to be insufferable, even worse than the 2008 version. It seems like they just really struggled with this event in a lot of the games. The best I remember being the Dream Ping Pong from 2008. Unlocking this Sonic character is a huge pain in the ass. I just feel like that every time I think I have the controls handled in ping pong, I end up diving and falling and shooting way too early and just blowing it. I just could not unlock this dude, and eventually I just gave up because do I really care about unlocking this character? Not really. Now, another sport that I tried out was boxing, and that wasn't bad at all. A bit of a surprise, actually, that it was pretty good. I beat this guy, again, don't really know who he is, after my second try. Apparently his name is Zavok? Who the hell is this? I looked him up, and I guess he's from the comics and was also in Sonic Forces, which I'm not really tied to either, so I'm sorry, I just don't really care. Moving on, despite not ever knowing how to properly start in the BMX game, I still managed to get the gold medal and unlock Wave. It's important to note here, though, that when I'm talking about unlocking these characters, it does not mean that the character is available in all sports. Instead, Wave is the guest of BMX and can only be played here after you unlock them. Same goes for those other two characters that I didn't know existed. But overall, this is ridiculous. There are some fairly popular characters that got this awful treatment of being a guest. You cannot pick Diddy Kong outside of him being the rugby guest. That's pretty damn low for a character that has been a Nintendo icon for decades before this game came out. You want to relegate these weird Sonic characters that I've never heard of to one sport? Sure, but someone like Diddy Kong? Jeez. Once you win a certain number of medals, you finally unlock the Heroes Showdown, and I cannot believe that this is not just available from the start. It makes zero sense to put this behind playing tournaments first. Honestly, I'm glad I stuck with this game a little longer than I maybe wanted to. Otherwise, I would have made this whole video without knowing about it or unlocking it, and would have left everything out about this mode. Point is, I was already bored of this game by the time I unlocked the mode. It's decently fun. It maybe even feels closer to circuit mode than the tournaments. First of all, the game doesn't kick you back to the plaza between events, unlike how the tournaments do, which is, honestly, it's ridiculous that that happens in tournament play, but whatever. Here you just get to stay in. Also, it does kind of force you to get out of your comfort zone and play events that you may not normally choose. For example, I got the rugby duel pretty early on. Now, I'm a stupid American, so I know nothing about rugby and wasn't really itching to give it a try here. I did get absolutely demolished in the game because I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I started to see the appeal of rugby. I mean, after all, it's kind of similar to American football, which, you know, I like. Afterwards, I got interested and I did a tournament for the normal Rugby Sevens mode, and I had a lot of fun. The championship match was me and another me from Uruguay. Look at all those fans in the crowd repping
Montevideo.
Correct! And nice accent, by the way.
Also, let's talk about these duel games. These are variants on the normal sports that involve some kind of Mario and Sonic type of twist. They are kind of like the dream events from the older games, but they are way more shallow and nobody considers these to be the same as dream events. One of the heaviest criticisms of this game is the lack of a dream event, and I completely agree. It's what ultimately makes this game feel so weak and like it's just an Olympic game with Mario and Sonic in it. Anyways, back to the Heroes Showdown. Here you knock out your opponent's characters if you win the event. Honestly, I went back and forth with the computer quite a bit here. It wasn't super easy or anything. Since I lost at rugby, I lost a huge chunk of my team. However, the mode also has a lot of comeback mechanics. That made it take a little longer than I anticipated as well. There are some additional power-ups too that can amp up your characters, and it can lead to some pretty hilarious moments. Ultimately, we ended with the same number of players remaining, but I had more overall wins, so I still secured the victory here. This is probably the best way to play the game solo. It just sucks that it takes quite a bit of time to unlock the mode. Imagine if circuit mode was not readily available in the 2008 game. It would be so weird, but that's the case here. There are some other little goodies in this game that can entertain you as well. Maybe the best part about this game is causing a real traffic hazard and being a public nuisance. Also, Big the Cat just asked me to check out the Miiverse monitor. What a great idea. Oh, right, I'll see myself out. This brings up an interesting point though. Given that this was such a late Wii U game, keep in mind that Miiverse was already on the cusp of extinction here. It was discontinued in November of 2017, giving this game just over a year of life with any of those features. I have no evidence or anything, but I would be very interested to see just how desolate the Miiverse community for this game was. There was also a 3DS game for this, as I mentioned when talking about the Nintendo Directs, and that one came out slightly before the Wii U version. Apparently that one has this whole Road to Rio mode, which is like a more dedicated story mode to my knowledge. I don't know much about it, but I also understand that the Wii U version has nothing of the sort and really is just a minigame compilation when you really boil it all down. I know that these types of games generally had DS counterparts, but if you were going to be this lazy and split up content this much, why not just scrap the handheld version this time? How actually popular were the handheld Mario and Sonic games? I knew nobody who ever talked about them back in the day, and pretty much everyone just had the console versions. With the series on life support, it makes little sense to have two versions. Or flip it the other way around. The 3DS performed way better in sales than the Wii U, so honestly maybe the console version should have just been scrapped. Believe it or not, this is actually one of, if not the rarest Wii U games that I own. It was certainly at the upper echelon of a price that I was willing to pay for a physical game. I guess you could say it's a neat conversation piece on the shelf. Yeah, real neat if I'm trying to get somebody to leave my house. That's why I very proudly display it all the way at the bottom of my shelf where nobody can see it. I was just so outrageously curious about this game though. I had heard it absolutely sucked. For the most part, I would agree that this game is really weak, even compared to the other Mario and Sonics. However, there are some positives. The game looks phenomenal graphically. You can tell they were getting everything they could out of the Wii U at this point. If there's one big thing I have to give the game credit for, it's the looks. This game makes 2008 look really dated, but you know what the difference is between those games? The fact that one is fun and one isn't. Guess which one's the fun one? Ultimately, the series did rebound with the Tokyo 2020 game on the Switch. I have a lot of fun with that one. However, we haven't seen an entry since then, and the 2018 Olympics were skipped entirely. I feel like the 2020 game was only ever really greenlit because the actual event was in Japan. Did we get lucky that way? Sure. Otherwise, 2016 may have been an awfully disappointing swan song. I just don't see why this game got released at all or what purpose it served on the Wii U. We could have just had the series end at Sochi and have 2 summer and 2 winter games and call it. Sure, then the Wii U would be missing a summer game, but who cares? You can just play 2008 or 2012 on the Wii U anyway with the backwards compatibility. It's not like this was suddenly going to be the title that saved the Wii U in its dying years. I feel like this was truly made as just a formality and maybe with some incentive to go out on a higher note than the widely panned Sochi game. However, instead of reclaiming any glory, the game just served as an even sharper reminder that it needed to just hang it up. And that is the story of Nintendo's most forgotten game. What's up, gamers? Today we're talking about Mario.